The grand hall of the Galactic Empire shimmered with golden light. Thousands of alien delegates stood in silence as the Queen of the Stars walked down the crystal steps. Her crown glowed like a sun, her robes carried the symbols of 1,000 worlds, and her voice had always been the center of power in the galaxy. To her people, she was not just a ruler, she was hope, balance, and the very heart of order. On this day, the Queen was set to announce a new age of peace. The wars of the past had finally ended, and trade routes now connected systems that once hated each other. Every alien race had sent representatives to witness this moment. Some looked like tall crystals, others had wings of living fire. Some were scaled beasts with eyes like glowing orbs. All stood proud, watching their queen. But among them, one figure stood out. He was not tall, nor shining, nor alien. He was human. The name given to him was Ethan Cole, a soldier of Earth. The humans had been invited to join the Galactic Empire only a few decades ago, and many aliens still saw them as primitive. Ethan's role was meant to be symbolic, a show of diversity. He wore no glowing armor, no advanced weapons, just a simple ceremonial uniform and a sword at his side. To most aliens, he was unimportant. To the Queen, however, he was loyal. She had chosen him to guard her personally, saying humans carried something other species often forgot: courage. The hall thundered with music as the Queen raised her hands. "Today," she began, her voice echoing like a melody, "we declare a new dawn. No longer shall war divide us. No longer shall fear guide us. Together, we will—" Her words stopped. At first, the crowd thought it was part of the ceremony. She paused, swaying slightly. Then her golden crown tilted, her face grew pale, and before anyone could react, the Queen collapsed onto the shining floor. The entire hall gasped in horror. Delegates shouted, wings spread, claws raised, voices trembling. Panic spread like fire. For a moment, the galaxy's heart had stopped beating. Ethan was the first to move. While alien nobles froze in shock, he sprinted forward, his boots pounding against the floor. He knelt beside the Queen, lifting her carefully. Her body was trembling, her eyes half closed. She was breathing, but shallow, weak, as if something was draining her life away. "Medic!" Ethan shouted, though most of the aliens barely understood the human word. The court healers rushed forward, carrying glowing devices and vials of liquid light. They surrounded the Queen, pushing Ethan aside. He stepped back but did not leave, his eyes sharp, watching every detail. The healers scanned her body. Their instruments whirred, beams of energy swept across her form, but the results made no sense. To them, "This is impossible," one healer whispered, his crystalline body pulsing with confusion. "She has no illness, no poison, nothing detectable," another insisted. "Yet she weakens," a third cried. "How can this be?" The nobles erupted in arguments. Some accused rival races of treachery. Others claimed this was a curse. Few demanded to seal the palace until the truth was known. Voices clashed, accusations flew, and chaos filled the hall. But Ethan was silent. He was not a scientist, not a healer, not a noble. He was a soldier. And soldiers noticed things others did not. He looked at the Queen's hand. The fingers twitched oddly, not like fainting, but as if something was pulling them. Her lips moved, faintly, not words but whispers, like she was fighting something inside. Then his eyes caught a detail no one else seemed to care about. A faint shadow under her skin, moving, like a ripple across water. Ethan's stomach tightened. That was no illness. That was something alive. He leaned closer, his instincts screaming. He had seen men collapse in battlefields, poisoned by gases and parasites. This was not the first time he had watched life drain from someone. But unlike the aliens, he understood the signs of a body under attack. One of the nobles noticed him staring. "Human!" The alien snapped, his voice sharp like metal. "Step back! This is no place for your kind!" Ethan met his glowing eyes without flinching. "She's not sick," he said firmly. "She's being attacked." The hall grew quiet at his words. For a second, everyone stared at him as if a child had spoken nonsense. Then laughter and anger rose together. "Ridiculous!" shouted one delegate. "Human superstition!" Another barked. "You dare insult our healers?" cried a third. But Ethan did not back down. He placed his hand on his sword, standing tall, his voice steady. "I've seen this before. On Earth. Parasites. Infections. They can live inside the body, hidden from scans, draining life slowly. Your machines won't see them, but they're there." The healers exchanged nervous glances. Their scans showed nothing. To them, the humans, words sounded like madness. Yet the Queen continued to weaken before their very eyes. Ethan's heart pounded. He looked at her face, pale and strained, and he knew she would not last long. He also knew no one would believe him, not yet. He whispered, low enough only she might hear, "Hold on, Your Majesty, I'll find out what's happening, I promise." Her eyes flickered weakly, as if she had heard him. The guards finally carried her away to the royal chambers, followed by healers and nobles, all still arguing. The great hall was left in chaos, with fear spreading among the delegates. Whispers filled the air. If the Queen dies, the Empire dies with her. Ethan remained behind for a moment, staring at the spot where she had collapsed. His fists clenched. Something unseen had struck her down, and no alien in the room could see it. But he could. He turned on his heel and followed after her. He was not just a guard anymore. He was the only one who knew the truth. And if he was, right, the Queen's collapse was not an accident. It was the beginning of an assassination. The royal chambers of the palace were filled with voices of fear and anger. The alien Queen lay on a bed made of glowing crystal, her breathing shallow, her skin pale. Around her, healers waved instruments, nobles argued, and guards stood confused. Everyone wanted answers, but no one had them. Ethan Cole, the human guard, stood at the edge of the chamber. He was not welcome there, but he refused to leave. His eyes never left the Queen. Her chest rose and fell weakly, and every second felt heavier than the last. The lead healer, a tall being of silver light, finally spoke. "Her Majesty suffers no disease. Her body is stable, yet her life force continues to drain. We cannot explain it." A noble with scaled skin slammed his claw on the table. "Then it must be poison. Someone here is guilty." "Poison leaves a trace," the healer replied coldly. "There is no trace." The nobles turned on each other, shouting accusations. Old rivalries surfaced. Some pointed at the insectoid delegates, others at the crystalline clans. The chamber became a storm of rage and distrust. Ethan's jaw tightened. While they argued, the Queen was dying. He stepped forward. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. "She's being attacked from inside," he said. Every alien froze. Dozens of eyes turned toward him, glowing with suspicion. The scaled noble sneered. "You again, human? What foolishness are you? Speaking now?" Ethan didn't flinch. "I saw it in the hall, a shadow moving under her skin. Your machines can't see it, but it's there. Something alive. A parasite." The chamber exploded with laughter and insults. "A parasite? Absurd! Primitive human nonsense." "Silence yourself." The lead healer glared at him. "Human, you are not trained in our sciences. Do not disgrace yourself with guesses." But Ethan refused to step back. His eyes burned with stubborn fire. "Guess? I've seen men die on Earth from things just like this. Parasites, toxins, hidden infections. Your machines are too advanced. They only look for what you expect. You're blind to the simple things." The room grew tense. Some nobles whispered among themselves. Could there be truth in his words? Others scowled, unwilling to believe a human could know what their advanced minds did not. Finally, a tall noble with wings of fire stepped forward. His eyes blazed. "Enough! This human is wasting our time. Remove him from the chamber." Two alien guards stepped toward Ethan. Their weapons glowed, but Ethan didn't move. He put a hand on the hilt of his sword, standing tall. His voice was calm but firm. "If you throw me out, you'll lose your only chance. I'm not asking for trust. I'm asking for time. Let me look. If I'm wrong, you can lock me away. But if I'm right..." He glanced at the queen. "She lives." Silence followed. The nobles hesitated. Pride battled with fear in their hearts. The queen's breathing grew weaker. Finally, the lead healer sighed. "Let him speak. Desperation gives us no choice." Ethan knelt by the queen again. He gently placed his hand near her wrist. He wasn't trained in alien medicine, but he didn't need to be. He felt her pulse, weak and strange, beating irregularly. His eyes scanned her skin. And then he saw it again. Just for a second. A ripple beneath the flesh, like something moving. "There," Ethan whispered. "It's inside her." The healers scanned again, beams of light passing over the queen's body. Nothing appeared. They shook their heads. "Your eyes play tricks," one said. "No," Ethan growled. "You're looking the wrong way." He stood. "This isn't random. This is an attack. Someone put it there. Someone in this palace wants her dead." The nobles roared in anger. "Lies! Human trickery! You dare accuse us?" But Ethan's words had already planted seeds of fear. If it was true, if something invisible was killing the queen, then anyone in the chamber could be guilty. The queen stirred faintly, her lips moving. Ethan bent closer. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Find truth." His heart pounded. She believed in him even now. That night, Ethan stayed awake outside her chamber. He was not ordered to guard her, but he refused to leave. The palace halls echoed with footsteps of guards and whispers of conspiracies. He heard nobles plotting, accusing, doubting. Fear spread like smoke. If the queen died, the empire would fracture. But Ethan focused on one thing, the shadow he had seen. He needed proof. When the palace finally grew quiet, he slipped into the royal archives. It was dangerous. If caught, he would be branded a traitor. But he had no choice. The archives held records of every threat the empire had faced. Somewhere, there might be an answer. He searched the glowing shelves, pulling records, scanning symbols he barely understood. Hours passed. Then his eyes caught something. An old war file, sealed and forgotten. It spoke of a species wiped out. Long ago, known for their weapons, living parasites that could drain energy from the strongest beings. His blood ran cold. The file showed drawings of the parasites. They matched what he had seen moving beneath the queen's skin. "They're not extinct," Ethan whispered. "They're here." Suddenly, a noise behind him. He spun, hand on sword. From the shadows stepped two alien guards. Their faces were blank, too blank. Their eyes glowed faintly, not with life, but with something else. Ethan realized the truth. The parasites were not only in the queen, they were in others too. The guards drew their weapons. "You should not have seen this, human," one hissed. Ethan's grip tightened on his sword. His instincts screamed danger, but his mind was sharp. He was outnumbered, deep in enemy halls, no allies nearby. But retreat was not an option. If he fell here, the queen would die. He raised his blade, voice steady. "If you want her dead, you'll have to kill me first." The guards attacked. Steel clashed against energy. Ethan moved with soldiers' reflexes, ducking, striking, rolling. He was slower than them, weaker than them, but he was human. And humans fought differently. They fought dirty. He slammed one guard into a shelf, shattering glowing records. He kicked another in the knee, sending him stumbling. Sparks filled the room as weapons struck walls. The archive became a battlefield. Finally, Ethan drove his sword through one guard's chest. Instead of blood, black mist hissed from the wound. The guard screamed as a shadowy parasite tore free, writhing, before dissolving into smoke. The other guard fled into the darkness, leaving behind echoes of alien laughter. Ethan stood panting, his body bruised, his blade glowing faintly with the parasite's residue. His heart pounded, but his mind was clear. He now had proof. The Queen was not sick. She was under attack by a hidden enemy, and that enemy was already inside the palace. He looked at the sealed file again. The parasites were thought extinct, but someone had brought them back. Someone wanted the Queen dead, and the Empire broken. Ethan sheathed his sword. His voice was quiet, but full of iron. Not while I'm still breathing. Outside, the palace still slept in uneasy silence. But Ethan knew the truth. The fight had only just begun. The palace of the Galactic Empire no longer felt safe. The grand halls that once shone with peace now hid shadows in every corner. Guards marched nervously, nobles whispered in secret, and fear spread like a poison through the air. The alien. Queen still lay weak in her chamber, her life fading. Healers continued their work, but none could find the source of her suffering. Only Ethan Cole knew the truth. He had seen the parasite with his own eyes. He had fought it in the archives, watched one burst into black smoke when his sword pierced its host. He knew the Queen was not ill. She was under attack by a living weapon thought long extinct. But there was a greater problem. No one believed him. The next morning, Ethan stood before the Council of Nobles. They demanded answers for the noise in the archives. His uniform was torn, his arm bruised, but he stood tall. I fought 2 guards last night, he told them. One was infected. A parasite lived inside him. That same thing is killing the Queen. The nobles reacted with outrage. Lies, shouted a crystalline lord. He murdered one of our own, cried another. This human spreads fear. Ethan raised his voice, steady and sharp. I risked my life to protect her. If you don't believe me, check the body, you'll see. But when the healers examined the corpse, they found nothing. The parasite had dissolved completely. There was no trace left behind. The council turned on him. Convenient, one sneered. You kill a guard and claim a ghost parasite did it? Perhaps he is the assassin, another hissed. The Queen's advisors ordered Ethan confined to his quarters until the matter could be judged. 2 alien guards escorted him away, weapons glowing, eyes full of distrust, yet Ethan did not resist. He walked silently, his mind already planning. If the palace was infected, he could not trust anyone. If he wanted to save the Queen, he would have to do it alone. Inside his quarters, Ethan paced. He thought of Earth, of the wars his people had fought. Humanity had survived by being clever, by adapting, by never giving up. They had fought with sticks, then with guns, then with ships that carried them to the stars. And now, even among aliens, who thought humans weak, Ethan knew one truth. Humans had a way of fighting that no other race could match. He looked at the sword resting by his bed. A simple weapon, almost ceremonial compared to alien technology, but it had killed the parasite when nothing else could. That's the edge, Ethan muttered. Not our machines, not our science, our stubbornness, our will to fight when everyone else gives up. His thoughts were interrupted when a faint knock came at his door. Ethan reached for his blade before opening it a crack. A small alien servant stood there, trembling. It was one of the palace attendants, a young being with translucent skin that glowed faintly. Its voice was soft. Human. I saw what you did. In the archives. Ethan narrowed his eyes. You saw? The servant nodded quickly. Yes. I saw the shadow come out of the guard before it vanished. The others didn't see, but I did. I believe you. Ethan let the servant in, closing the door. For the first time, He felt a flicker of hope. Then help me. The Queen is dying. If we don't act, the Empire will fall into chaos. The servant whispered, "The healers cannot see the parasite. But maybe there is another way. In the old tunnels beneath the palace, there are forbidden chambers, places where records of ancient wars are hidden. Perhaps you can find what you need there." Ethan nodded. "Then that's where I'll go." That night, he slipped from his quarters with the servants' help. They moved through the dark tunnels under the palace. The air was damp, the walls rough stone instead of crystal. Few ever came down here anymore. As they walked, Ethan spoke. "Why help me? You risk your life." The servant's glowing eyes shone sadly. "Because the Queen saved my people once. We were weak, forgotten. She gave us shelter. Now it is my turn to repay her kindness." Ethan felt respect stir in his chest. Loyalty was something humans valued deeply, and it seemed this small alien shared that same spirit. They reached a sealed door, covered in strange symbols. Ethan pressed his hand against it. It hummed faintly, then opened with a hiss of dust and stale air. Inside were shelves of stone tablets, scrolls, and devices long forgotten. Ethan searched quickly, guided by instinct. Finally, he found a record, a description of the ancient parasite war. It spoke of a weakness. The parasites could hide from advanced machines, but they could not resist certain frequencies of sound and heat. The old warriors had used fire, resonance, and sheer physical force to drive them out. Ethan's lips curled into a grim smile. "Simple weapons. That's why my sword worked. That's why your machines can't find them. They're looking too far forward, when the answer's behind." The servant trembled. "But if the parasites are back, who brought them?" Before Ethan could answer, voices echoed down the tunnel. Alien guards, traitors. They had followed. "Run!" Ethan shouted. The servant fled into the shadows while Ethan drew his sword. 4 guards appeared, their eyes glowing faintly, the same unnatural glow he had seen before. They were infected. Ethan's heart raced. He was alone, surrounded, deep underground. But fear did not rule him. He remembered Earth. He remembered battles where the odds were worse. He remembered what humans did best. He fought. The first guard swung an energy spear. Ethan ducked, driving his sword upward through the chest. Black smoke hissed as another parasite dissolved. The second came from behind, but Ethan rolled, smashing a torch from the wall into the alien's face. The fire made the parasite scream and writhe before the host fell dead. The last 2 circled him, weapons ready. Ethan's arms ached, his breath heavy, but he stood firm. He whispered to himself, "Not today." With a roar, he charged. His blade clashed with theirs, sparks flying. He took a cut to the shoulder, pain burning, but he ignored it. Humans could take pain. They could keep going when others would fall. Moments later, both enemies lay on the floor, their parasites destroyed. Ethan leaned on his sword, gasping. His body shook with exhaustion, but his spirit did not break. He picked up one of the fallen parasites before it dissolved. It twitched in his hand, a small, shadowy worm hissing. For a second, he stared at it, then crushed it under his boot. "Not in my watch," he growled. When Ethan returned to the palace chambers, the nobles were still arguing. They demanded answers, demanded order. But Ethan walked straight past them, blood on his sleeve, sword in hand. He carried with him one of the old tablets from the tunnels. He threw it onto the council table. "Here's your proof. The parasites are real. I killed 4 more tonight, and if we don't act, they'll kill her. And then all of you." The hall went silent. The lead healer lifted the tablet, reading the ancient script. His glowing body pulsed with fear. This This matches the symptoms. This cannot be coincidence. Some nobles still doubted. And you expect us to trust? You, human? You who broke into forbidden tunnels? Ethan stepped closer, his voice like steel. I don't care if you trust me. I care about her. He pointed to the queen, still weak in her bed. You're blinded by pride and machines, but I'll fight for her with whatever it takes. That's the human way. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the queen stirred. Her eyes opened faintly, meeting Ethan's. Her lips moved, soft but clear. Protect them. Ethan bowed his head. Always, Your Majesty. The council finally understood this human, dismissed as weak, might be their only hope. The palace was no longer a place of safety. It was a battlefield hiding beneath golden walls. Nobles whispered of rebellion, guards distrusted each other, and in the queen's chamber, her life continued to fade. Every healer admitted the same. They could not cure her. But Ethan Cole did not give up. The queen's words still rang in his ears. Protect them. Even weak, she had not asked for herself. She had asked for her people. That was why Ethan fought harder than ever. The council of nobles sat in fear. Some wanted to flee to their own worlds. Others wanted to declare themselves rulers before the queen died. Only a few truly cared for her survival, and among them, Ethan was the loudest voice. We don't have time, he told them. The parasites are spreading. Every moment you argue, they infect more of your people. We need to act now. The winged noble with eyes of fire glared. And what do you suggest, human? Fight shadows with swords? Burn down our palace with fire like barbarians? Ethan stepped forward, his sword hanging at his side. His voice was sharp. Yes, if that's what it takes. The nobles gasped. The idea sounded brutal, primitive, uncivilized. But Ethan didn't care. He remembered Earth's history. Humans had survived by doing what others thought impossible. The small alien servant who had helped Ethan spoke timidly. He is right. The parasites fear fire and sound. I saw it myself. The nobles murmured, uneasy. Some still doubted, but others looked at Ethan with a new kind of respect. He was not clever with machines, but he was brave, and sometimes courage was what they lacked most. That night, Ethan prepared. He gathered what he could, torches, sound emitters stolen from the archives, simple blades sharpened by hand. He stood in the armory, wrapping cloth around his wounds. When the servant approached, "You cannot fight alone," the alien said softly. "Let me help." Ethan shook his head. "It's too dangerous. I won't drag you into this." But the servant straightened its thin shoulders. "The queen gave us life. If we lose her, we lose everything. I would rather die fighting than hide in fear." Ethan studied the small creature. Its glowing eyes trembled, but its voice held truth. Slowly, he nodded. "Then fight beside me. But remember, stay alive." The servant bowed. "Yes, human." Hours later, screams echoed through the palace. Parasites had revealed themselves, bursting from infected nobles and guards. Hosts moved like puppets, their eyes glowing with unnatural light. They attacked the healers, spreading fear and chaos. Ethan ran into the halls, sword in one hand, torch in the other. Behind him followed a small group of loyal servants and a few young guards who chose to believe him. They were not many, but they were determined. The infected came in waves, their bodies stronger than before, their movements twisted. But Ethan fought with raw determination. His blade cut through armor. His torch burned away shadows. Every time one fell, black smoke hissed, proof that the parasite inside had died. "Push them back!" Ethan roared. The servants struck with makeshift weapons. The guards fired their rifles, and the halls blazed with firelight. For the first time, the parasites faced resistance they could not ignore. As they fought, Ethan's mind was focused on one goal: reaching the queen. She was the heart of the empire, and if she fell, everything fell with her. At last, Ethan and his small band reached the royal chamber. The door was sealed, but inside they could hear shouts and the clash of weapons. The parasites were already there. Ethan smashed the controls, forcing the door open. He charged inside, his sword flashing. The sight froze his blood. The queen's personal guards were gone, their bodies scattered on the floor. Parasites crawled over them like dark worms before sliding back into living hosts. Several nobles stood infected, their eyes glowing as they moved toward the queen's bed. She lay there, barely breathing, unable to move. "Stop!" Ethan shouted, charging. The infected turned toward him with twisted smiles. "Too late, human," one hissed in a voice that was not its own. Ethan didn't wait. He threw his torch into the curtains, setting the chamber ablaze. Fire roared across the walls, filling the room with heat and smoke. The parasites shrieked, writhing in pain. He fought like a man possessed. His sword slashed, his fists struck, his body moved with desperation. The loyal servants joined him, their small forms darting bravely into battle. But there were too many. For every parasite that fell, 2 more took its place. Ethan's arms ached, his wounds burned, and still they pressed forward, a clawed hand. Slashed across his chest, blood spilling. He staggered but did not fall. A parasite leapt toward him, but he grabbed it with his bare hands, crushing it against the floor, even as its shadowy body bit into his skin. Pain seared him, but he roared in defiance. "Not today!" At the center of the room, the queen opened, her eyes faintly. She saw the human fighting with every ounce of strength, his body battered but unbroken. She saw servants and young guards fighting beside him, inspired by his courage. Her weak lips whispered, "Ethan." He turned, blood dripping down his face, and met her gaze. "Hold on, Majesty. I'll get you out of this." She tried to shake her head. "No. Remove it. Inside me." Ethan froze. She knew. She could feel the parasite inside her, and she was asking him to do the impossible. His heart thundered. If he tried to remove it, he could kill her. But if he did nothing, she would surely die. The fire burned higher, smoke choking the chamber. Parasites screamed as they burned, but more still fought on. Ethan's allies were falling one by one, struggling against overwhelming odds. He made his choice. Ethan rushed to the queen's side. He knelt, pressing his hand against her chest, feeling the strange movement beneath her skin. His voice shook. "This will hurt. For both of us." The queen smiled weakly. "Do it." He drew his blade, heating it in the flames until it glowed red. Around him the battle raged, but for Ethan the world narrowed to this one moment. He pressed the sword against her skin and cut. She gasped in pain, her body trembling. From the wound, black smoke hissed, the parasite fighting back. It tried to escape, twisting beneath her flesh. Ethan reached in with his bare hand, ignoring the burning pain. He grabbed the writhing creature, its shadowy body squirming, biting, trying to crawl into him instead. His vision blurred, but his grip held like iron. With a roar, he ripped it free. The parasite screamed, a sound not of this world, before dissolving into smoke. The queen collapsed back onto the bed, blood flowing, but her breathing steadied for the first time in days. Her skin regained a faint glow of life. Ethan, however, fell to his knees, his body shaking violently. The parasite had tried to infect him, leaving dark veins across his arm. He coughed, the taste of blood filling his mouth. The last of the parasites screeched as the fire consumed them. The chamber fell silent except for the crackle of flames and the queen's soft breathing. The survivors dragged Ethan away from the fire. He lay on the floor, his body broken, his chest rising and falling weakly. The nobles and healers rushed in, gasping at the scene. The queen was alive. The human guard had saved her. But Ethan did not hear their words. His vision faded, his body, trembling from poison and blood loss. The last thing he saw was the queen's face, her eyes open and shining with gratitude. Then darkness took him. The palace was quiet, almost eerily so. Fires had burned out, smoke lingered in corners, and the echoes of the night's battle still hung in the air. The queen rested in her bed, wrapped in soft blankets, her breathing steady. Her eyes, once pale and lifeless, now shimmered faintly with health. Ethan Cole lay nearby, his body bruised, burned, and drained of energy. The loyal servants and guards had managed to drag him to safety after the final battle. He had survived the parasite attack, but only just. His chest rose and fell slowly, his hands trembled, and his head throbbed from exhaustion. The small alien, servant who had fought beside him, sat quietly, watching over him. "He's alive," whispered one of the young guards. I thought we lost him." The servant nodded, glowing faintly. "Humans, they endure. Even when all hope seems lost, they keep fighting. He proves it." Ethan stirred slightly, opening one eye. His vision blurred, but he saw the queen looking at him. Despite her weakness, her expression held gratitude and relief. "You stayed?" she whispered softly. "I promised," Ethan murmured, voice hoarse. "I would protect you. I'm still here." Tears filled the queen's eyes. "You saved not only me, but the Empire. Everyone." Ethan managed a faint smile. "That's what humans do. We fight, we survive, and sometimes we win against impossible odds." The Council of Nobles arrived shortly after. Their expressions were mixed, some in awe, others filled with guilt for doubting Ethan. They approached the queen, bowing deeply, then glanced at Ethan. The human guard, battered and bloodied, sat silently, letting his actions speak louder than words. The lead healer, his glowing form dim from exhaustion, stepped forward. "The parasites, they are gone," he said. "Thanks to this human. No alien weapon, no device could have done what he did. Only courage, determination, loyalty." A murmur spread through the council. Some whispered, "Could humans be more than we thought?" Others nodded, realizing their pride had blinded them. The winged noble, who had once doubted Ethan, now approached. You saved the queen and the Empire. Perhaps humanity has a place among us after all." Ethan shook his head. "I didn't fight for recognition. I fought because it was the right thing to do." Yet, despite his humility, everyone in the chamber understood a truth they could no longer ignore. Humans were different. Their strength lay not in advanced technology or alien power, but in their will, their courage, and their loyalty. The queen finally spoke, her voice stronger. "Now, Ethan Cole, you have proven your worth, not only as my protector, but as a symbol of hope. The galaxy has long underestimated humans. Today, you have changed that." Ethan's eyes widened slightly. He had fought for the queen, for survival, never for glory. Yet, her words struck deep. The respect he had earned was unlike anything he had ever imagined. "Your Majesty," he began, but she raised her hand to stop him. "Rest, hero. The Empire will recover, and the galaxy will remember the night a human saved us all." Ethan allowed himself to close his eyes again, feeling the tension of the last days slowly ease from his body. Outside the palace, word of the battle spread quickly. Servants, guards, and surviving nobles carried stories of the human who had fought against impossible odds, who had faced creatures no alien weapon could destroy. In the capital's streets, citizens gathered to hear the tale. They marveled at the bravery of a single human standing against the parasites. In the distant worlds of the Empire, ambassadors and leaders discussed the event with surprise and newfound respect. Perhaps humans are not to be underestimated, one diplomat whispered. They fight with a strength unlike any other. They endure when all else fails, another added. They survive, and they protect. Even old enemies hearing the story began to reconsider their assumptions. The galaxy had learned a lesson that night. Humans were not weak. They were extraordinary. Back in the Queen's chamber, Ethan slowly recovered. His wounds were treated, burns healed, and his strength gradually returned. But the experience had changed him. He had seen the depths of alien politics, the darkness of betrayal, and the danger that lurked even in places of supposed safety. Yet he had also seen loyalty, courage, and hope. The small alien servant who had helped him remained by his side, and together they reflected on what had occurred. "You were fearless," the servant said quietly. "I have never seen anyone fight like that, not among our species, not among any species. Only humans." Ethan chuckled softly, shaking his head. "I fought because I had to. That's all. Any human would do the same. Maybe we are different, but we are just survivors. That's what it comes down to." The servant nodded. Survivors, yes, but also heroes. Days passed. The Queen regained her strength, walking again, speaking with energy that had seemed impossible just nights before. The Council of Nobles convened, this time not in fear, but with respect. Ethan was called forward. The Queen addressed him in the center of the chamber. "Ethan Cole," she began, her voice firm, "for your courage, your loyalty, and your unwavering spirit, I grant you the title of Protector of the Empire. Your name will be remembered among the greatest defenders in our history." Ethan bowed deeply. "I do not seek titles, Majesty. I only wish to serve." The Queen smiled. "And serve you shall, in the Empire and beyond. The galaxy has seen humanity's true value. Let your deeds inspire all who doubt." The nobles, once proud and dismissive, now bowed in respect. Some whispered among themselves, "Perhaps we judged humans too quickly. Perhaps we should have paid more attention." The servants and guards cheered. The young aliens who had witnessed the battle looked at Ethan with awe, imagining themselves one day fighting with similar courage. Even Ethan, humble as ever, felt a quiet pride. Not for the recognition, not for the title, but for proving that loyalty, courage, and determination could overcome any threat, even ones no one else could see. The Queen turned to the council. "The threat of the parasites is gone, but we must remain vigilant. Someone brought them here. Someone betrayed the Empire. Ethan, you have proven that humans are not only capable, they are essential. Will you lead an investigation to find the traitor?" Ethan nodded, slowly rising to his feet. "Yes, Majesty. I will find them. I will ensure the Empire is safe." A murmur spread through the chamber. Humans had always been underestimated, but now it was clear. Their instincts, courage, and resilience were unmatched. Even the most proud nobles began to reconsider their assumptions. The Queen looked at Ethan, eyes glowing with hope. "Together, we will protect this empire, and humanity will no longer be underestimated." Ethan smiled faintly. "I never wanted recognition, but I will accept this responsibility. For the Queen, for the people, for all of us." Weeks later, the palace had recovered. The scars of battle remained, but they were reminders of courage and survival. The Empire's citizens spoke of Ethan Cole, the human who had fought shadows no alien weapon could defeat, and who had saved the Queen and the Empire. Aliens of all species now saw humans differently. They respected their determination, marveled at their bravery, and acknowledged their loyalty. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were protectors, warriors, and symbols of hope. Ethan, still recovering from his injuries, walked through the palace gardens with the queen and the loyal servant at his side. He looked at the sunlight reflecting off the fountains and the green leaves rustling in the breeze. For the first time in weeks, he felt peace. The queen spoke softly. "The galaxy will remember this, Ethan. Your courage, your loyalty, humanity's edge, it will not be forgotten." Ethan smiled, looking at the horizon. "It doesn't matter if they remember or not. What matters is we survived, and we protected those who could not protect themselves. That's what humans do." The queen nodded, understanding the truth in his words. And in that moment, the galaxy's future looked brighter than ever. Because humans had shown their true strength, not in weapons or technology, but in courage, loyalty, and the unwavering will to fight for what was right.